The phone rang on an ordinary Sunday morning. The day felt unremarkable. I could still taste the bitterness of my tea lingering, and a few stray notes clung to my jacket from earlier chaos. I just settled at my desk, ready to dive into work, when my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. No name, no caller ID. I hesitated, but answered anyway. "Hello? Is this Sarah Lynn?" a steady voice asked. I froze for a moment. "Yes," I replied. "This is David from Unity Trust Bank," he said. "I'm calling about your mortgage balance of $580,000. I straightened in my chair. "Excuse me?" I said, my voice sharper than I meant. "I don't have a mortgage." "You must have the wrong person." A brief pause followed. Then he said, "Ma'am, the records show your full name, birth date, and social security number. You're listed as the primary borrower. The loan was taken out 3 years ago. 3 years ago." My stomach dropped. That was when my older brother, Michael, started raving about buying a house. I remembered his enthusiasm over dinner, scrolling through property listings on his phone. He'd called it his new beginning, a place big enough for a future family. He'd laughed off his bad credit like it was no big deal. Mom had nodded and said, "We'll sort it out." Family always does. But not like this. Not by stealing my name. I managed to thank David and hang up, my hands trembling. I sat there, staring at the wall. The faint whir of my computer was the only sound in the room. My palms were clammy. My throat felt like sandpaper. I kept telling myself it was a mix-up, maybe a clerical error, a shared name, a crossed wire. But deep down, I knew better. Something was wrong. I stood and walked to my bedroom. I rummaged through the nightstand drawer, pushing aside old receipts, birthday cards, and utility bills until I found it, an envelope from Unity Trust Bank. It was just a generic notice, the kind I'd tossed aside months ago, thinking it was spam. Now, it felt like a missed signal, a clue I'd ignored. The pieces started falling into place, and my chest tightened with a truth I didn't want to face. Someone I trusted had used my identity for a loan, and I was left holding the debt. I sat on the floor, surrounded by scattered papers, old forms, and crumpled letters. It felt like sifting through the wreckage of my life. I didn't own a home. I had no car loan. I kept my finances separate, clean, intentional, yet here I was, drowning in $580,000 of debt. And it wasn't a stranger's doing. Only a handful of people had access to my details. My full name, social security number, even my signature. I'd shared those over the years, helping with school applications, medical forms, bank accounts. I never questioned it. It was my family. The realization hit like a sudden chill. I didn't want to believe it. But some betrayals don't announce themselves. They creep in quietly, locking the door behind them while you're distracted. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wrestling with the same question. If they'd asked for help, would I have agreed? Probably not. But that wasn't the issue. The real sting was that they never asked. They just took. By morning, I couldn't pretend it was a mistake. The timeline, the documents, the silence. It all pointed to Michael. He'd been dreaming of a house with a wide deck, a finished attic, and space for whatever life brought next. He was unemployed then, his credit a mess. But Mom had said, "Don't worry, Sarah always finds a way." Now I understood. I was the way. I opened my file cabinet and dug deeper. I hadn't touched those files in years. There were old tax returns, copies of my social security card, insurance forms, things I'd signed for Mom when she was struggling. And there, in my own handwriting, was everything someone needed to impersonate me. I'd handed it over, willingly, trustingly, because I was the dependable one. The good sister. The quiet one. The one who solved problems, not created them. Mom used to say it like it was praise. Sarah doesn't need help. She's tough. She figures it out. That was the deal. Michael got endless chances. I got silence. When Michael wrecked his car, it was, "He's just finding his way." When I made a mistake, it was, "You're better than that, Sarah." When I was a teenager, I asked Dad for a used tablet for school. He didn't snap, just said, "Money doesn't grow on trees." It wasn't that they despised me. That might have been easier. They just didn't see me as someone who could be hurt. They thought I was unbreakable. Maybe that's why they thought it was fine to use my name, my credit, my life for a massive loan. Maybe they believed I'd handle it if it fell apart. But something in me shifted. Not anger, not vengeance, just clarity. I opened my laptop and called the bank, requesting every document tied to the loan. The woman on the phone was polite, unaware that the file she sent would upend my world. When the email arrived, I opened the PDF. My name, my birth date, my details stared back at me. And my signature. Except, it wasn't mine. It was close. Too close. Someone had practiced. Maybe they traced it. Maybe they studied it. But they missed the details. The slight hesitation in my S. The way the L in Lynn curved faintly. This signature was bold, fluid. Mine was cautious, deliberate. It was convincing enough to fool the bank, to pass legal scrutiny. But not me. I knew who did it. It was Michael. But I didn't call him. I didn't text Mom or Dad. I didn't demand answers or scream. I just started collecting proof. I sifted through old tax forms, medical records, student loan papers I'd co-signed when Dad was laid off. Every folder from the past decade held my signature, my trust. I printed everything. Credit reports, identity verifications, accounts opened in my name. I didn't own a house, yet there it was. A mortgage contract from Unity Trust Bank, signed, notarized, binding. All without my knowledge. For days, I kept the papers on my dining table, organized in neat stacks. It was my life, laid bare, stolen, exploited, and now mine to reclaim. I was supposed to be working on a work project, but my focus was gone. It felt like survival. At work, my colleague Emma noticed I wasn't myself. During a break, I'd been staring at nothing, lost in thought. She pulled me aside and said, "You look like you're carrying the world." Her words cut deep. She saw what I'd buried. I told her everything. Maybe because she was one of the few who asked how I was and meant it. She didn't promise it would be fine. She didn't offer empty comfort. Instead, she handed me a phone number. "Call this woman," she said. "She's sharp and doesn't flinch at family drama." That's how I met Ms. Claire. She was in her 50s, maybe a former cop, with a no-nonsense demeanor and a voice that cut through noise. We met at a quiet diner near my apartment. No sleek office, just a woman, a notebook, and a cup of tea. I gave her my folder of evidence. She reviewed it silently, page by page. When she finished, she looked at me and said, "You know what this is, don't you?" "I think so," I whispered. "This is fraud. Identity theft, at minimum," she said. My heart clenched. I nodded. "I don't want to destroy them," I said. "I just want this fixed." "You're not destroying anyone," she replied. "You're reclaiming what's yours." She laid out the steps. File a police report, contact the bank, gather more proof, challenge the loan legally, press charges if necessary. "It won't be simple," she warned, "and once you start, there's no undoing it. It'll sever ties." I thought about severe, as if there were still ties to cut, as if I hadn't been alone in this for years. That night, I opened an old box from when I'd moved. Inside was a holiday card from Mom. Her handwriting was distinct, loopy, and warm. It read, "Happy 30th to our anchor. We don't say it enough, but you're our safety net. We're blessed to have you. Safety net." It was meant to be kind, but it revealed everything. They saw me as the reliable one, the one who wouldn't refuse, dutiful, steady, but I was done being their fallback. Wednesday came too fast. I stood outside my parents' house, the one with the faded blue shutters and the uneven sidewalk. My purse held a folder, gripped so tightly it felt like it might tear. I hadn't spoken to them since the loan documents arrived, since I sat with Ms. Claire and realized this wasn't just a family slip-up. It was a betrayal. I knocked. Mom opened the door, beaming. "Sarah, darling, I was just pulling a casserole from the oven." Like nothing was wrong. Like the world hadn't shifted. I stepped inside. The house smelled of herbs and baked cheese, familiar as ever. Michael was sprawled on the couch, scrolling on his phone, an empty beer bottle nearby. Dad sat in his armchair, eyes on a basketball game. No one met my gaze for long. They acted like they didn't know, or didn't care. I stayed quiet through dinner. Lasagna, garlic bread, overcooked broccoli. Mom chatted about trivial things. Michael griped about his HOA fees. Dad mumbled at the TV. I waited. After the plates were cleared, I spoke. "Hey, quick question." 3 pairs of eyes turned to me, relaxed, expecting something mundane. "Does anyone know about a mortgage in my name?" The room went still. Michael's jaw tightened. Mom's smile faltered. Dad coughed. I didn't flinch. I didn't look away. I waited. Finally, Mom spoke, her voice soft, like she was explaining a minor bill. "Oh, sweetie, it's just some paperwork. Michael needed help to qualify. You're not actually paying anything. It's family." Michael chimed in, eyes on the table. "You've got great credit. I don't. It's not fair if you won't help." Not fair. Like I was selfish for asking. Like they hadn't crossed a line. I looked at them. The mother who raised me, the brother I'd comforted after breakups, the father who called me his steady hand in tough times. And I saw it. They didn't think they'd done anything wrong. They thought this was normal, that I should carry their burden. Silently, I nodded once, deliberately. "Thanks for clarifying." Michael relaxed, picking up his phone. Dad reached for the remote. Mom exhaled, like the issue was settled. They didn't see what had shifted. They didn't know they'd lost me. I was still Sarah, still quiet, still the one who didn't make waves. I hadn't come to fight. I came to listen, to give them a chance to own up. But they justified it instead. No apologies, just excuses. The next morning, I went to the police station and filed a report. The officer, weary from years of family disputes, was gentle but thorough. He read my folder, his expression growing grim. "You sure you want to proceed?" he asked, not doubting me but knowing the cost. "If I don't," I said, "they'll do it again." He nodded, stamped the forms, and made it official. That afternoon, I mailed a certified letter to Unity Trust Bank with the police report, a dispute letter, and copies of my ID. The postal clerk slid the envelope into the tray like it was routine. To me, it was monumental. A line drawn, quietly, firmly. I didn't call my family. I didn't warn them. No shouting, no tears, just silence. Days passed. 3, then 6, then a full week. No texts, no calls. Just the weight of waiting. It arrived on a Monday evening, just after dusk. A knock at my door. Through the peephole, I saw Mom in her best jacket, her face a mix of fury and fear. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. She stepped forward anyway. "How could you?" she spat. "How dare you go to the police?" Her voice was sharp, but I heard the undercurrent, panic. Not for me, but for what came next, for getting caught. I stayed silent. "We trusted you to understand," she said. "Michael needed help. Family sticks together." "No," I said softly. "Family asks. They don't steal." She blinked, stunned by my calm. "You've ruined us," she snapped. "Do you know how this looks?" I almost smiled, but didn't. "I didn't ruin anything," I said. "I just stopped pretending it wasn't already broken." She opened her mouth to argue, but I closed the door. The lock clicked softly, but to me, it was deafening. That night, Michael called 12 times, leaving 7 voicemails, each angrier than the last. I deleted them unheard. The next morning, I felt free. An email from Unity Trust Bank arrived. The mortgage loan is under review and temporarily frozen. A formal apology followed. They were investigating the notary and signature records. My credit was still damaged, but the truth was surfacing. I called Ms. Claire. "They're taking it seriously," I said. "They usually do," she replied, "when you stay calm and let the facts speak." She was right. I hadn't shouted. I hadn't pleaded. I'd let the truth stand. In the weeks that followed, my family's silence grew. No texts, no invites, no pleas to be grateful for them. They didn't try to fix it. They just missed the old Sarah, the one who always said yes. But she was gone. I started reclaiming my life. I visited the weekend market. I bought plants for my apartment. I read novels without checking my phone every 5 minutes. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. And I found it. Months later, summer crept in. The air smelled of blooming jasmine. I felt ready to move forward, even if the scars lingered. I kept things simple. Answered Ms. Claire's emails, signed forms, checked my credit like it was a habit. The case wasn't over, but I was steadier. My weekends became mine. I hiked local trails. I took a painting class at the community center. I volunteered at a local shelter on Sundays. Small things, but they were mine alone. One morning, I stood at a craft fair behind a table of my painted vases. They were imperfect but real. A man picked up a vase labeled Redemption. It was uneven, rough in places, smooth in others. "Why this name?" he asked. I smiled faintly. "Because it wasn't meant to be here," I said. "But it is." He nodded, paid, and left. That evening, I sat on my balcony with a glass of lemonade. The quiet felt different. Not the silence of being overlooked, but the silence of freedom. Then I saw them. Mom, Dad, Michael, standing at the edge of the parking lot. Not too close, not too far. Waiting. Unsure. I walked down the stairs, unhurried. I wasn't hiding. When they saw me, they froze. "Sarah," Mom said, her voice trembling. "We messed up, but we're still family." Michael stepped forward. "I just need help, just for now. Don't push us away." I wasn't angry. I wasn't vengeful. I was calm, because I knew why they were here. Not love, need. I set my bag down and looked at them. Really looked. "I hope," I said softly, "you learn what family truly is." They said nothing. "It's not something you take," I continued. "It's not something you fake or demand when it's convenient." I pulled an envelope from my pocket. Inside was a copy of the fraudulent mortgage, stamped "canceled" in red. Behind it, the old holiday card. "You're our safety net." I handed it to Mom. Her hands trembled as she took it. "I'm not angry," I said. "Not anymore." She started to speak, but I didn't wait. "I'm free," I said, "and I'm not coming back." I turned and climbed the stairs. My steps echoed louder than any fight, heavier than any words. At the top, I paused. The breeze tugged at my scarf. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows. I whispered to myself, not them. Sometimes leaving is the loudest thing you can say. And I meant it. They used my name like it was theirs. I took it back. No screams, no pleas, just silence. And that silence? They couldn't ignore it. If you've ever been the safety net, you'll know why I never looked back. Follow if you're done staying silent. Some truths aren't spoken for forgiveness. They're spoken to be remembered.